How's it going, everyone? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Swanee, and for today's video, I'm going to be going over my thoughts on the brand new Halo ODST Warbond that was just added to Helldivers 2. I've tested out all 4 weapons and the new armor passive, and I've got some mixed feelings. So first off, I want to say I think this Warbond is awesome. I'm a huge Halo fan. I love everything about the look and the feel of the cosmetics that were added, and I think if you're a Halo fan, this Warbond is worth getting just for the cool looking ODST armor and the recon armor alone. I think it's so awesome to just run around in the ODST gear in those big city maps. So if you like role-playing and you only care about cosmetics, then this is an easy must-get Warbond. But when it comes to the practicality of the weapons and the armor, that's where I have the mixed feelings. It's not that the weapons are bad per se, they just aren't all that good either. So let's get into the weapons, starting with the assault rifle. For starters, it has medium armor penetrating, which is a huge plus for a lot of you, so that's good. It does 80 damage, it has a capacity of 32, a recoil of 19, and a fire rate of 640. It also has a flashlight, and you can switch the firing modes between full auto, single, and burst mode. But my issue with it is that since it doesn't have any attachments, it just falls short in comparison to a lot of the other assault rifles. The other medium penetration assault rifles like the Adjudicator and the Liberator Penetrator are basically better in pretty much every way in my opinion. Both of them are way more accurate and they have scopes, so that means you're going to land way more headshots, and it feels like your ammo goes a lot further since you get more kills on average using those weapons. Since the Halo assault rifle doesn't have a scope, you're going to be missing a lot more of those headshots, and it feels like you're constantly reloading. I think if the collaboration weapons aren't going to have any attachments, then they need to be slightly more powerful than those other weapons in some way to justify picking them on those harder difficulties. Now, I do really enjoy shooting this assault rifle in first-person mode, since it has the ammo counter just like in Halo, and it's got the compass that always points to the north. It really makes you feel like you're playing in a Halo game, and it makes me wish that they'd put in a complete version of the first-person mode. That way I could always play in first person, and that way it would feel way more cinematic and more immersive. So I do really like the assault rifle in first-person mode. But when I tested it against each of the factions, I personally think it did the worst against the Illuminate. It really struggles to take out those overseers, and it takes like 3 magazines to kill a flesh mob, and it will just burn through ammo against the voteless. And it did okay against the Automatons. It was just a little hard to hit some of those headshots on those Devastators since there's no scope, and it also did just okay against the Terminids, but I found that ammo was the biggest issue against them since so many of those Terminids like to get up in your face. But if it was up to me, I would personally buff it maybe 10 or 15 points to the damage to make it feel just a little bit stronger. But it's not a bad weapon, it's definitely usable, especially if you're playing it on those easier difficulties, but it will struggle if you're going to be doing Helldive 10. So for the looks and the feel and the role-playing, I'd give it a 10 out of 10, and its usefulness on those hardest difficulties, I'd maybe give it like a 6 out of 10, and I'd definitely pick something like the Adjudicator over it any day. And then we have the shotgun. It does 605 damage, has a capacity of 6, a recoil of 83, and a fire rate of 80, and it has rounds reload, and unfortunately, it only has light armor penetrating, which honestly is a huge bummer. I really wanted the shotgun to hit hard since it's a beast in the Halo games. The light armor penetration really holds this shotgun back because so many enemies have medium to heavy armor, and it claims that it does 605 damage, but it doesn't really feel like it does that much damage. I was really struggling to kill the Illuminate Overseers with it because it just can't penetrate their armor, and it also struggled against any of those Terminids with the thicker armor like the Hive Guards as well. I would honestly maybe knock the overall damage down just a little bit and then make this shotgun medium armor pen. That way you could shoot through medium tier enemies like the Hive Guards and the Overseers and maybe stagger them a little bit, and it would make dealing with those types of enemies feel a lot more satisfying. Now I did end up enjoying it against the Automatons because it will just wreck the Devastators if you shoot them in the stomach or the head, and any of the small bots will die pretty easily, so I definitely had the most fun when I was facing the bots. Overall, though, I don't think the shotgun is bad. It's just disappointing for what I expected it to do. I mean, go play any of the Halo games and use the shotgun, and then come back and use it in Helldivers, and you'll know what I mean. And then the next 2 weapons I think disappointed me the most, which are the M7S SMG and the Socom Pistol. Starting with the SMG, it does 70 damage, has a 48 capacity, only 8 recoil, and a fire rate of 872. It's also light armor pen, it's one-handed so it can be used with shields and while you're running, and it's the first weapon in the game to have a suppressor. Now I actually like the way the weapon feels. That 48 capacity and basically no recoil makes it pretty easy to land headshots on devastators and stuff, and the amount of ammo you get feels pretty good because you can get off 4 to 5 kills before needing to reload. So I was having a good time against the Automatons. It actually didn't do too bad against the Terminids either, but then it definitely struggled against the Illuminate. It does okay against the Voteless, but it's definitely going to struggle against those Overseers and those Flesh Mobs. But what really disappointed me about this weapon was the suppressor. Players have been asking for over a year now for the option to have stealth builds, and sadly, the suppressor doesn't seem to do anything at all. If you shoot so much as one enemy, then all of the surrounding enemies will magically know where you're at, or they'll just call for reinforcements. I tried using both the new ODST armor and the scout armor to try to use stealth, and neither would work. The ODST armor makes 50% less noise when you're moving, and the scout armor reduces the range at which enemies can detect you, but neither one of them paired with the suppressor seem to make any difference. I don't know if the suppressors are just bugged, or Helldivers is just too wonky of a game to ever really figure stealth out, but I was not impressed with the suppressor whatsoever. It is not a good feeling when you're trying to go in slow and use the shadows, and then you pop one enemy in the head, and then all the enemies within a mile radius just magically know where you're hiding. So hopefully that gets fixed. Then for the Socom Pistol, it does 100 damage, has a capacity of 12, a recoil of 20, and a fire rate of 900. It also only does light armor penetrating, and it's also suppressed. But since the suppressor doesn't seem to do anything, you just have yourself a secondary that's slightly stronger than the default pistol. It'll do okay at killing the smaller units on each of the factions, and it's okay if you're in a pinch, but it's definitely going to struggle against any of those medium or heavy tier enemies. So let me put it this way, if you take all 4 of these new weapons and you remove the Halo skins and they look like just some random generic weapon, there would be no reason to pick any of them. None of these weapons stand out when compared to the weapons that already exist in the game that all come with attachments. The only thing going for them is that cool factor of them being from Halo. So if you aren't a Halo fan and you were only interested in the weapon's performance, then I can't really recommend getting this Warbond just for the weapons. But with that said, I still think the weapons are cool. I mean, there's over 30 plus primary weapons in the game now, and there's plenty of great picks. And not every weapon needs to be a top tier, S tier weapon. I see these weapons as like a fun little addition to the game. Like, would I like them buffed? Sure, but at the same time, if I want to use these, I can always just play on difficulty 6 or 7 and have a good time. And if I want a challenge, I can bring them on difficulty 9 or 10 and struggle a little bit. My only major gripe with these weapons is the lack of stealth. That was really upsetting to me. I've been looking forward to a stealth build for a long time, and now we finally got it, and it's just not that good. And then briefly talking about the armor passive, it's pretty meh. The 50% less noise is just kind of dumb since it doesn't do much. The 30% increased point of interest range is pretty nice. If you're trying to farm super credits and stuff, that could be useful. And then the immunity to leg injuries is just kind of okay, I guess. But honestly, I don't really care about the passive. The ODST armor is just so freaking cool. I just don't see myself taking it off anytime soon. So, in conclusion, I think the cosmetics and the role-playing aspect and just the theme is a 10 out of 10. I like everything. I think they did a great job of capturing the feel of Halo, and they really knocked it out of the park. But the overall usefulness of the weapons and the armor passive is maybe just a 6 out of 10. They're just all kind of average. None of them are that good or amazing, especially when you compare them to any of the other weapons that have attachments in the game now. It's just not all that fair to compare the Halo assault rifle to, the Liberator Penetrator that can have a drum magazine. So the weapons are just kind of okay, I guess. But these are my thoughts and first impressions on the latest Warbond after about 5 or 6 hours of testing everything out so far. I'm sure my opinions might change on these weapons the more I play with them, but let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below, and consider checking out some of my previous videos. If you're a new player coming to the game, I have plenty of videos on the channel going over all the weapon attachments, stratagems, and way more that will definitely help you guys out. So that is going to do it for me, and I will catch you all in the next video.